Hey friends, in today's video, I'll talk about how to monetize your clay.com skills and specifically what I wish I knew about making money when offering clay as a service. Video, just for pure clarity, is because I get asked all the time inside of our Unlock Clay community, how the hell do you monetize the use of clay? And specifically, there are 5 main ways that you can do that. The first way is through charging a retainer, which is the most common way, where you just say, hey, pay me this flat amount every month. It's a subscription, regardless how great or how crap our service is for the month. For example, pay us $1,500 and with a contract minimum of 3 months commitment to work with us. And if we don't achieve X results, we'll give you your 4th month for free. That's the first option. The second option is the setup and pay per meeting ready leads. This is basically where you just charge a certain amount upfront for the cost of the sales tools, and then you get paid per meeting, per qualified lead. And then on top of that, you have hourly consulting, hourly coaching, or you can charge per clay table, which is quite common. I saw a couple of my competitors charging $1,000 per clay table, which I thought is relatively high, but at the same time, it just depends on the complexity of the clay table. Let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of all of those, because the retainer model probably seems the most tempting and the most lucrative because it's predictable monthly recurring revenue. But in my opinion, especially if you're getting started, it's not the best way to go because you kind of front load the value in the first month where you set up the systems, you set up the clay tables and so on. But then it's diminishing returns after the first month because typically you set up the campaigns, they get you a couple of leads, and then typically it just goes downhill from there. There is a lot of churn after month 2, after month 3. So I would not say that it's the best entry-level solution for someone who's just starting to use clay and providing that as a service. And on top of that, that requires ongoing value delivery, which is pretty high, and it increases the client expectations. Now, the setup and pay per meeting ready lead is a pretty good option, in my opinion. You scale with results. It's a very good, clear value proposition that you can provide there. Also, it could lead to just a few revenue fluctuations throughout, so it's unpredictable to really know what your monthly revenue is or your monthly profit is. And the final thing is, how do you qualify what a meeting-ready lead actually is? Once again, you probably would look for a qualification criteria like BANT, which is budget, authority, need, and timeline. Have they been qualified through those? Or any sort of other way to qualify those leads over there. More than that, if you're actually really good at clay, you can do hourly consulting, and that's something that I've provided on the side over the past few months, where you basically set an hourly rate. Over here, I'm just adding a placeholder amount. Honestly, it can fluctuate, but you'll probably be likely to be over $50 per hour. You're basically really flexible with that. So it's very easy to price that kind of service per hour, and you basically just sell your time. And the best thing is, the deliverables are very unclear throughout that. So you're just basically jumping on calls, teaching a person how to use certain enrichments, how to scrape websites, all of that stuff. But the downside is you ultimately become just a glorified freelancer, which, in my opinion, is the best path to go. Next up, we have the hourly coaching. Now, the hourly coaching is completely knowledge-based, very similar to the hourly consulting, but the coaching is a bit more specific, in my eyes, to you just jumping on a call with someone who has an end goal. So, for example, they want to build a clay table, and you're there to help them build that table from start to finish, and you guide them through that entire process step by step, so that they don't have the actual reliance on an agency or a third party next time, so that they can just pick up this skill super fast. Now, hourly coaching, I wouldn't recommend this until you're truly great at using clay. And the chances are, if you're watching this, you're probably either getting started or you're intermediate. Or unless you're an expert, you never know who watches these type of videos, right? Now, this is good for certain people. The good thing is the profit margins on the hourly consulting and hourly coaching are huge. So you're basically getting 80 to 95% profit margins in most cases. But then the downside is, if you are good at using clay, it does not mean that you're good at teaching clay. And those are 2 big distinctions here. And then the final thing to talk about is pricing per clay table or per workbook or per setup, which is basically project-based. Deliverables are very clear. That's the good thing. And you can even sell this per clay table build-outs to other lead generation agencies, which opens up a huge revenue stream for you to practice before offering this as a service to end clients, which is pretty good. But a lot of the time, the clients abuse tables. They try to squeeze in a bunch of useless enrichments that just make the whole clay table building experience so much harder. So I would say out of those options, we'll talk about which ones are the best ones for you specifically, depending on where you're at. But this is just some of the monetization models that I learned from just speaking to other dudes like myself that work from home and just build clay tables for fun for their clients, right? So moving on, this brings us very nicely to your progression. And essentially what everyone aspires for is to either have a go-to-market agency like a clay agency or to become a go-to-market engineer themselves. And this person will possess absolutely everything from the bottom pillars over here. But the chances are when you just get started, people look at you as if you're this just like data person, the person that handles company lists, people lists. So you basically go to Apollo, you go to a bunch of other places to source this data. You may be trusted with a few entry-level enrichments. You probably top up the campaigns into Instantly or Smart Lead or whatever email automation tool it is. You probably handle the inbox as well. And most of the time you'll be paid this amount, like $8 to $25, which I think is quite a fair range for this type of work. Now, the next pillar from that, once again, you can skip this part of the video if you get bored at this point, but essentially the next bit is you become a freelancer. And that's the way that people look at you. You're just like a person that does freelance tasks of qualifying company and people lists. You follow basic step-by-step instructions when you enrich data. You may set up a few campaigns here or there with Smart Lead or Instantly, and you overlook all of that data collection as well. And over here, you have a bit more leverage. So that reflects in the price that you charge. So you can charge upwards to $50. I mean, I see freelancers charge like up to $100 for this type of service per hour, but realistically, I can't afford that as an agency owner. So I would not pay that for, a freelancer who's just doing this kind of basic tasks. After that, you get to a point where you're a campaign manager, which once again, if you're an agency or if you're an individual, your basic responsibility is to create email campaign copy, which is just entry-level copy, maybe not using, the copywriting stuff from Josh Brown or Eric Nowakowski or, one of the big clay nerds that shares a bunch of templates. So your job here is to basically create some basic entry-level campaign copy, buy a couple of domains, warm them up, overlook all of this stuff that we just talked about from freelancers and data specialists. So you basically combine all of those responsibilities. And in those cases, you're charging maybe a 1K build-out fee with $750 a month retainer or so, which is basically this $750 is just like a service fee. So you don't have to pay for cost of tools if you're just getting paid $750 a month for this. Now, at that point, if you're doing a good job with being like a level 3 operator, this is when you become like the growth guy for most of these companies. And I'm saying this so that you can understand, so it resonates with you. So you understand, like in simple terms, people are just looking at you, oh, hey, this is my guy who handles my growth, he handles my lead gen. And that's where you start to think of multiple copywriting angles for the campaigns. You start A/B testing approaches. And typically 80% of the time you will spend thinking about the campaigns. And this is the difference, that you're no longer just purely setting up conditional formula inside of Clay, but rather you're spending a lot of the time thinking about the campaigns, thinking about different campaigns to A/B test, the email copy, all of that stuff. And only after spending 80% of your time on like the ideation part, you then spend 20% of the time inside of Clay doing the work from level 3 down to level 1, right? And this is super important because you will be so much faster when you get to level 4, so that the tasks that take a level 1 person to a couple of hours to do, a level 4 person can probably do in 20 minutes. So essentially you are per hour, you're probably doing 3x more than any of these other guys over here. No offense to the guys probably like close to the bottom of this pyramid, right? Now, level 5, and worth noting the level 5 is at the bottom of the pyramid. So level 5 is what most people aspire for, is to become a go-to-market engineer or go-to-market agency, a lead generation agency that can charge fat, bloated retainers of upwards of $2,000 in most cases. And this is where you overlook the entire go-to-market vision and execution. You launch 5-6 campaigns every month. You make sure that the inboxes are absolutely full of emails that you're sending out every day. You're setting up domains, email copy, different copywriting angles, anything to get leads and results for your clients. Because ultimately at level 5 over here, at the very bottom, you do everything in order to get the results. So you combine all of these other parts from this pyramid as well. So now that we are clear on that, let's talk about the most common mistakes that people make with this monetization part, regardless of where you're at in this like kind of hierarchy here. So first of all, a lot of people do not charge an upfront payment. So this is especially important if you're like level 3 to level 5. I would encourage you, unless you're like a freelancer that gets paid at the end of the project, at the very least charge 50% upfront, because a lot of the time, I've had this before, where you think someone is credible, they then tell you the cash flow is bad, and before you know it, 2 months have gone, they still haven't paid you for the clay table that you built for them. So this filters out all the crap clients, and it only focuses on the serious clients and improves your cash flow as well, so you can actually make some money. Now, secondly, performance-based only avoids those kind of people as well. Waste of time. Absolutely, all of them claim that they have a great product market fit. They will raise some funding, whatever the promises are. Complete BS. I wouldn't trust them. Run away from them. Don't reply to their emails. In my opinion, no offense, but yeah, were they not a good cultural fit to work with me at the very least? And I would not wish that upon you as well. Thirdly, do not give guarantees. Stay away from bold guarantees like, hey, we'll book you 20 booked calls, or we will work with you until you do that. Because as much as I love Alex Hormozi myself, as much as I reread the $1 million offers, $1 million leads books, it's 99% of this stuff, it sounds good in practice, but it's super hard to deliver on. So unless you are like a top 1% clay expert, which is unlikely if you're watching this right now, stay away from these guarantees. And then the fourth thing, which is super important, this is the number one most important skill in lead generation, in my opinion, is expectation management. I'm guilty about this with all of my clients most of the time, and I'm really trying to work on this. And the simplest way to do that is before signing them on a contract and during the discovery calls with them, when you're trying to sell them on your service, just ask them 30 days into working together, 60 days into working together, and 90 days into working together, what does success look like? And then tell them, quantify this for me. So how many sales are we going to get you? How many meetings are we going to get you? How many proposals do you think you can get from those meetings? And then hold them to that, because a lot of the time that's super important. Now let's talk about how you can find your first clients. So I get it. You want to find some clients for providing clay as a service. The first thing to keep in mind is don't just go after people and say, hey, do you want to generate leads? Because this is crap. And you will be targeting people that just basically expect a super cheap service with like, you know, a lot of like unreasonable results in return for hardly any money that they can spend on that. So the first thing is just to focus on product aware prospects. What do I mean by that? Inside of Trigify, and once again, I'm not affiliated to Trigify. If they want, and you can get a complete free trial here. You can see I don't even have a paid account with them right now. But inside of Trigify, you can get a free trial for 2 weeks. And over here, you can go under topics and type in the keyword clay, and you will see everyone that engaged with clay in the last 7 days with 6 mentions of clay in total. So this means that these 548 people here all engaged with posts that mention clay, and they engaged with it consistently. So you can then export them into a CSV file, and then once again, you can then just export them and harass them with emails until one of them just happens to reply to your email. Now I'll talk about the exact email copy to send them as well. Don't worry about that. Secondly, if you want a bigger kind of market size of that, you can go to scrapely.cloud, and once again, no affiliation with them, but it's fairly affordable. It literally doesn't cost hardly anything, maybe $18 minimum, and it will scrape every single person that follows clay on LinkedIn, which is crazy, right? So you can then go after every single person that follows them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I saw you follow clay. The chances are you're trying to figure out how to implement it, blah, blah, blah. And don't worry, I'll give you the exact email template that I would use if I was in your shoes right now. Now, thirdly, this brings us nicely to the outreach part, where we look for specific prospects who understand clay's potential, but lack the technical expertise to pull this off themselves. So most of the time, these are the kind of people that like all of these posts. They mention a specific word to get a lead magnet from a post, but then they don't walk the talk. They can't be bothered to implement it themselves. They're not techie enough, and most of the time it's an easy sell for you as long as you appear to be fairly technical when selling it. So how do you outreach these prospects? The easiest way is to offer free value up front, which is what you've been told a million times before, so I'll make it even simpler for you here. You're going to say, I'll build you a free clay table of your ideal prospects. You will use clay to basically use Clayagent to analyze the websites of the prospects and then generate 2 or 3 job titles of their ideal client profile, and then you'll generate the industry. So for example, hey Tim, I noticed you sell your ERP software to the pharmaceuticals and medical industry, specifically to CIOs and CTOs. What if I built you a free clay table of these prospects, enriched it, and sent out 5,000 emails at no cost? Would you take me up on that offer? Simply reply yes, and I'll send it to you. And once again, this is me just completely improvising. I just came back from a run, as you can probably tell by my receding hairline and my tired looking face. And my point here is, all you need to do is offer free value. That's the first thing. And people will jump on a call with you, I guarantee you. Then secondly, this will lower the defense mechanism. So you're not one of a million people that just wants a meeting for nothing in return. They already will understand that you are more competent than the average lead gen person. Then thirdly, you can ask for references when your free service impresses them. So you can tell them up front, hey, I'm building this clay table for you, but just between us, I'm going to tell you, as a little secret, I want a testimonial if this table does exactly what I told you. Does this sound good? Because this is going to take me 5 hours to build otherwise. And once again, I guarantee you they're all going to say, sure thing, I respect your time, like we appreciate it. And then after you build this free clay table, you will identify the upsell opportunities, because the free work allows you to spot additional problems within the business. So you could ask them a couple of questions, and I'll show you in the next couple of slides what questions to ask. But the idea is quite simple. You get your foot in the door with a free offer, and then you upsell them or cross-sell them just by identifying more challenges that they have in their current lead generation process. So let's look at it in a bit more detail. During the discovery calls, and I have to admit that like all of this stuff is something that I do right now. I don't really want to share this with you, but I thought, okay, I'll pull the curtains back on this just to give you some ideas. These are a couple of the questions that I always ask. What's working already with your lead generation? So what are the successful campaigns if you do it manually? Like describe it to me. And that's the second question. What are the manual processes that you currently do to generate leads? Which of these tasks are manual and tedious? And this is where you look for opportunities to automate this clay. So for example, a lot of businesses will go on a website, they'll then have a look if the company is, I don't know, like B2B or B2C. And this is just one enrichment within clay that you can, simplify the process of doing that and save them a lot of time. Then thirdly, you can spot automation potential. So a lot of the time, maybe it's not clay, maybe it's Zapier or Make or NA10 or whatever other tool. And you may be struggling and you may think like, oh, I don't know any of these tools just yet. But if you subscribe to this channel, by the way, which I'd like you to do right now, then you will see a bunch of videos where I walk you through the most common automations that I build for our clients right now. And you can just learn through those and just reverse engineer and apply a couple of those automations to most clients out there. So in this case, you will just spot automation potential. You'll find a couple of processes. You will map it out in a Miro board for the clients. And then you will basically tell them, hey, I can do this for you, but this would not be a part of the free clay table order. It will be a separate thing, and I would charge this on this specific price. Now, when you present a clear solution, this is very important. I would recommend that you have at the very least like a Miro board that visualizes the entire process. So for example, here, I'm just showcasing like a real thing that I've done for a client. I basically map out the exact tables that I'll build them. I map out the exact tables, how they'll be labeled, and then I record a Loom video explaining all of this stuff to them. Now, this is how you build trust with the prospects, or at the very least, this is the way that I envision building trust with the prospects, through just recording a Loom video summary straight after the call within like a couple of hours, explaining the exact go-to-market strategy based on the call. So you're going to say this will require 3 or 4 clay tables. This is like the trigger for the clay table. This is the action and so on. And this is how you win the clients over, because most proposals take forever. Most people don't even give your proposal, and then they just basically tell you, yeah, this will cost you $3,000 without telling you the step-by-step process. Now it's time to talk about how you transition from free clay table building to actually charging for a paid service. And this is very important because 99% of you just have this urge of instant gratification where you're just going to think, I want to make money right now. And I totally understand you, but hear me out on this. The first thing that's really important is for you to practice with 3 to 5 clients for free. So you perfect your process, you understand how you're going to charge them, you collect a couple of testimonials so you can reference those clients when new leads jump on calls with you. Or alternatively, if you don't want to get the practice through free clients, just go and offer an agency owner, cold message a bunch of agency owners on LinkedIn and say that you'll build a couple of clay tables for free, just if they give you the opportunity of showcasing this as your experience section on LinkedIn. They'll probably take you up on that offer. You can maybe even ask them for an hourly rate on top of that. So that's the first step. The second step, you then need to decide on one of the 5 pricing models that we talked about. So you would need to choose which monetization approach fits your skills. You start with a couple of projects that basically will enable you to understand what clay tables you can build. And then you pass the cost of tools, any sales tools, you charge this for the client. Because a lot of the time, otherwise, you'll be screwed because clients just basically get you to buy a bunch of domains and then they churn within a month. And then that leaves you with a recurring cost of tools going forward. And then finally, you can scale from that. You can increase the prices a tiny bit when you see something is sticking, something is working. And more or less, with most of the clay tables that we build right now at my agency, 99% of the new clients, they either come from inbounds of you showcasing the clay tables that you build for others through video. So this can be on like LinkedIn posts where you just say, hey, here is how I built a clay table that does this cool thing. Obviously, you anonymize the clients, but you can just showcase every single time that you build something impressive. If you showcase it on your LinkedIn feed, you tag me, you tag a couple of other dudes who just love to see a bunch of clay videos, I guarantee you're going to get engagement. I guarantee you're going to get some inbound from that. And more than that, you will then understand what resonates with the audience on LinkedIn. And when you start posting it, you will attract a bunch of people to come inbound. You can increase your prices slowly. And before you know it, you can be charging like retainers or big one-off setup fees or whatever you want to charge. Now, before all of this good stuff, let's talk about some of the more important things. And the first thing I need to mention is clay isn't just about cold outreach. There are different angles for using clay. It's not just sending cold emails. For example, you can generate personalized outreach to follow up on people that attended a webinar. So you can pitch this to VPs of marketing, for example, who are tired of manually chasing after people, or alternatively just spamming the hell out of people without any sense of personalization. Secondly, if you have experience of working in a specific industry, you may see what the processes are like already that are inefficient. So, for example, how they target people that attended a conference, or how to target exhibitors of a specific event, or whatever it is. And you can basically just create a clay workflow from that. Or if you're still watching up to this point, if you're targeting someone in recruitment, instead of promising them leads for the client side of things, you can just promise them a candidate sourcing workflow. They're super easy to set up so that you can basically, so that they can source the candidates faster and they can deliver their service faster for their clients. So once again, it doesn't have to be as simple as like pay me to get you leads. It can be for other aspects of the business as well, which makes clay like really universal. And once again, always think about where you worked before. How can clay be applied there? What's the manual process? Write it down step by step, and you can probably automate a big part of it using clay. As I mentioned, stay away from false guarantees. Expectation management is really important. And then finally, 2 more things from me. First thing, do the lapse maths. What I mean by that is always calculate how many leads you need to email in order to generate a certain amount of bookings. And from that amount of demos, how many proposals will it make? How many sales? And run these numbers past the client, because the client needs to see that you care. And also on top of that, you want to make sure that the client agrees with you what the final result is. So if the dream outcome is 3 sales, you would need to do 3x of this, which is 6,000 emails, if these are the conversion metrics. So make sure you communicate this with the client. And I can't stress this enough. Expectation management is everything. Put this somewhere in your onboarding process where you understand and quantify their expectations. And do this even before onboarding. Make sure you map those questions out during your discovery call, so you're not left disappointed later down the line. Now, here is the thing. All this advice that I gave you throughout this video assumes one thing. And that one thing is that you can deliver a great service when using clay. And that's you want to be this level 5 go-to-market engineer or go-to-market agency that provides all of this lovely clay table building services. Most courses will charge you hundreds, if not thousands, for learning clay from scratch. And I tried most of the other programs out there. I actually had to ask for refunds from one of the biggest clay courses out there because the course was crap and did not live up to my expectations. Now, that's exactly the reason that I created Unlock Clay, and where I teach you absolutely everything that you need to know in order to become this go-to-market engineer, or maybe even open your own agency. Now, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. I just want to make sure that we're 100% clear on this. And my promise is simple. I will teach you how to learn Clay from beginner level to advanced level in under 3 hours. This includes a 30-day money-back guarantee. You will be able to join our community completely for free, which is a WhatsApp group where you can post any sort of random questions that you have, any struggles, any ideas. And the best part, it only costs £100. So one client will probably get you like a 5x return on this initial investment. So if you want to take me up on that, by all means, just go to unlockplay.com for more information. And I'm sure you'll be seduced by this landing page on unlockplay.com with all the fancy testimonials. And I'm sure I'll see you inside of the course. Now, before that, if you want the slides from this video with all the different monetization models, all the expectation management, all of that fun stuff, just go to the link in the description underneath the video. I mean by the link underneath the description, as a lot of you would ask me in the comment section typically, it's this link that's right underneath the video. And I honestly don't think I should be explaining this to you, but just thought to make it 100% clear. And the final thing is, just Pinky promised me to go to unlockplay.com just to check out the course, see if that's for you or not. Or if you've already completed the Unlock Clay course, just consider referring a friend, because maybe I can upload some new modules into the course if you do that. Anyways, all the best in the meantime. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Maybe even comment something. If you have a random question, just comment, just so I see that someone is watching these type of videos. And more than that, if you have any good requests for other clay-related videos for this channel, let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you can, because at this rate, I think we just hit 130 subscribers, which is a huge milestone. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Over and out. Have a good one. Cheers.